Hello everyone. Today I've got three amazing cosmic horror books for you. And the thing about cosmic horror is sometimes they are written so well, like these three, that it's kind of hard to explain. If you've ever had a book you've read that you've really loved, and then somebody says, well, what is it about? But it's hard to put into words what you were feeling when you were reading without giving away spoilers. That's the way these three books are. But I'm going to do my best to try to let you know why you should read these amazing books without giving away any spoilers or anything like that. And we'll see how this goes. But as always, I want to remind you that I have horror books for sale. They are only $1 each. And you can find the ones you see on your screen at the link in the description if you want to check them out. All right, let's get this started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called The Dead Take the A Train by Richard Cadre and Cassandra Caw. I've read Cassandra Caw's books before. Nothing But Blackened Teeth was just an excellent story, I thought. And I didn't know much about this book going in, but my Lord. This is a fantastic, weird, really out there, terrifying cosmic horror story that has all kinds of different elements in there. And the thing I really want to mention about this book is that this has probably one of the best opening chapters of a horror book that I've read in a very long time. If you read this opening chapter and you love it like I did, you are in for a treat, because that's just the beginning, and the rest of this book just really takes that theme and runs away with it beautifully, I might add. And when you have a book like that that grips you from that very first few paragraphs, you know you're in good hands. And so I'm going to tell you about what this. These are no spoilers. This is in the first chapter. We're in the middle of a bachelorette party that has gone terribly. There's blood everywhere. People are dying, body parts laying around. This book does not dip your toe into the pool to see how the water is. This book throws you off the diving board right into the deep end, and hopefully you can sink or swim with it. Because right in the middle of this bachelorette party, this book throws us right in the middle of that horrible, bloody scene. And we meet our main protagonist right there. Her name is Julie, and she has got her hands inside the body of the bachelorette, the woman that was going to be married, digging around because she has a demon. She is demon possessed, and Julie's got powers and gifts that helps her deal with demons and supernatural creatures and things from other worlds. And so she's digging inside, trying to rip this demon out. And come to find out, she has been paid to get rid of this demon by the bachelorette's mother, who wanted to use her daughter as kind of a womb. She wanted to use her daughter's husk for a womb for other supernatural eldritch beings to come in and make little horror babies, kind of. And it is bloody and it is gruesome. It's just full of everything I love, and really it gets your interest and it keeps it right away. And that's just the opening chapter. And then we're going to go on to the main story, and my God, this is a great story. I can't say enough good things about this book, and I'm not going to try to give anything else away. Like I said, that was the first chapter. But we kind of find out that Julie is kind of a mess of a woman. She does have these powers that allow her to deal with supernatural beings and things that the majority of people don't know exist. But she's kind of a mess, man. She lives by herself. She really has no friends. She loves her drugs. She loves her alcohol. But she barely has enough money to support herself. She rarely eats or goes out or does anything fun because she freelances for a certain law firm who deals in these kind of creepy eldritch things. And so they hand her off some work as a freelancer to take care of their more troublesome clients, let's just put it that way. But they don't pay her enough, and she'll take work from other people as well for a certain amount of money. But she's barely making it in New York City doing this kind of work. And along the way, this book is going to turn into kind of a conspiracy about this law firm that she's doing work for, and how they're trying to bring back this massive evil creature called the Mother that eats. You'll have to read about that, and how she and a group of her friends are trying to stop this from happening because they know it's basically one of those end of the world scenarios. But what makes this book unique is not only this the story and the narrative itself, but how it's presented. These two authors did such a fantastic job of making this world come alive, giving you all the bloody, gory details, and the way they describe these mythical creatures is just bone-chilling. I mean, they really put you right in there in the middle of the action, in the middle of the bloodshed, and really get your mind to racing about the possibilities of what might actually be out there. Yeah, you can easily suspend your disbelief with this one because that writing style is so smooth and so fantastic. And the characters in here are just top notch. Every character gets its due diligence. From our main character, Julie, you're going to love her, to her best friend, Sarah, to a man called Dead Air that kind of has some other powers, but he's kind of a nerd and he does a lot of internet, computer, technical things. He's a hacker and likes to play video games, and even right down to Julie's landlord, who is Saint Joan, who is another woman. She is much older than what you would think. She has been around for centuries, and we're going to learn all about these characters and kind of things that happened in the past as the book goes along. But then there's people you're going to hate, like the man she's doing work for at this law firm. He is a slimy, typical corporate frat boy kind of character who's just out for himself, doesn't really care about anybody else. But of course, he also has powers. Like he could make you into a blood stain on the wall with a snap of his fingers. And you just have to read how this law firm works and what they're dealing with to know about some of these characters. I'm telling you, this book is just fantastic. It's full of action. It's full of blood. It's full of these eldritch horrors. And like I said, they're trying to bring back the mother who eats back into the world in a very gross and disgusting kind of way. And our group is going to go through the ringer and discover some things about what's going on and trying to find a way to stop it without being killed, of course. It's just, I can't say enough good things about it. This one it blew me away. I didn't know much about it going in, but I'm really glad I read it, and I can highly recommend it to you. And you can pick up your copy of The Dead Take the A Train at the link in the description. And next we have Edenville by Sam Rebeline. This is another one of those books where people are trying to call up this cosmic eldritch evil to kind of take over the world, but this one is set in a college. And just like with the Dead Take the A Train, this opening chapter really sets the tone for the entire book. This one's got a lot of twists, a lot of turns. But this opening chapter is like a nightmare sequence one of our characters is having, and it is absolutely terrifying for these creatures that are coming out of a wall, and they're kind of eating him. He can't move. He's on his couch, but they're eating him, but they don't have teeth, so they're just kind of gumming him to death, and they're slimy and gooey and latching onto different body parts, trying to swallow his head and everything. It's really disgusting. And again, that sets the tone perfectly for the rest of this book. This book has a lot of different angles to it, and sometimes it feels like a puzzle that you have to put together, except you don't know what the puzzle's supposed to be. You don't see the end picture. But as the book goes on, all these pieces are going to start falling into place, and when you realize what is actually happening and what is going on with some of these characters, it makes for a truly mind-blowing, horrifying experience. Trust me on that. We got our two protagonists. They go to a college. He's got a writer's workshop kind of thing for a semester where he's going to help the creative writing department. He's going to be kind of a temporary teacher and instructor there. But this town is known, this whole county where it takes place is known as being cursed. And everybody in that town has a story about this curse in different ways it's affected them negatively. And the town, all the people are a little weird and a little cryptic, and there are definitely some red flags going on here that the woman sees. But the man, he wants to ignore them because he's making excuses for some of this strange behavior because he really wants this position. He's a horror author. He wrote a book about his dream that he had, and that's going to be significant for the rest of this book that he wrote. And so he wants to stay there. He wants to do his thing. He wants to be part of something. He wants to be accepted, and he wants his accolades. But, of course, this is a horror book, and things are going to start going very wrong very fast. You got him doing his thing in his college. You got his wife who's trying to adjust to this town. Something terrible happened to her and her friend when they were teenagers in this town or near this town. And she is trying to figure out what that was. And her only hope from being here is that somebody can give her answers to what happened to her friend many years ago who just went missing. And we're going to find out that this town is different. This town is sentient almost. This town don't let you leave even if you leave the town. It's always going to be there with you, and it draws people in. And as people start experiencing the curse of this town, the curse starts experiencing them and changes them. And some of them they give blood powers to, and they can do different horrible things. It's really weird, and it's kind of out there. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you read the book, you'll definitely understand. Like I said, it does, you do have bits and pieces here that don't seem to make much sense at first, but then the further you read, all them things start coming together beautifully, and you just feel that dread and that tension building up, because once you realize what they plan to do in the underbelly, in the basement levels of this college, you can't help but be horrified at the implications. And it's very, very good. I love the writing style of this book. I loved how he didn't try to even hide or pretend. Like, this isn't one of those towns that is just kind of sneaky and kind of giving you little hints behind your back. This one is full-blown creepy right from the start. And everybody knows about this town. Everybody who's experienced anything in this town knows it's cursed. And it's just right there in your face. Even the townsfolk that the woman talks to as she's going about her days, they make they don't even try to hide the fact that, yeah, this town is cursed, but we just kind of accept it. It's part of us. It's who we are. And yeah, this book is definitely different than other small town horror books you might have read. But I loved it. I absolutely thought it was great. And of course, I highly, highly recommend it to you. And you can pick up your copy at the link in the description. And next we have Nightmares from the Grave by Joey Powell. Oh, this is a really creepy, freaky book about curses and demons and eldritch horrors and other things trying to find their way back into our world. And it's about a 16-year-old kid, and he's not cool. He's not in the cool club at school, but he's trying to be. And one day they talk him into climbing this huge water tower because they say it's a rite of passage, and if he does that, he can hang out with the athletes and the cheerleaders and all the other cool kids. He doesn't want to do it, but he's doing it just because he wants to belong there. But he gets near the top, and when he looks down, they're rifling through his backpack, And he has something in there he does not want them to see, so he kind of freaks out. He loses his grip on the rungs, and he falls to what should have been his imminent death, of course, because he's very high up there. It should have killed him. But miraculously, he survives with hardly any physical damage whatsoever, which is surprising to everybody. And they start calling him the indestructible kid, the kid that can't die, at school. So now he's starting to get some recognition, but not for anything he really wanted. And he's kind of pissed off because he knows the guys that led him there, they were just there to kind of tease him. And he feels that they're responsible for his accident. And he takes out all his anger and pain and frustration by writing and drawing in a journal. And he draws these horrible pictures about a beast that he's dreamed about with a giant axe. And this beast will drop from the sky and just start killing everything in its path. He's had these visions of his town in flames and with all these horrible creatures running around. But when he writes and draws in this journal, he's writing down their names and different ways in which he would kill them. Horrible, terrible ways. And of course he has to keep this book hidden so people don't think he's psychotic, because he's not. For him, it's a way to get out his pain and his anger. But one day he loses the journal, and you'll read about how that happens. And come to find out, there's a cult in town. And they find the journal, and the things he's been writing, the things he's been drawing, are things this cult is aware of. And he has not so much just written and drawn in a journal to get rid of his feelings. He has actually created a spell book, a grimoire. And the sacrifices required to bring this creature back with a giant axe, the one that he's been dreaming about, is actually what they want to do. And they take this as a sign that he is the architect of this destruction. He wants nothing to do with any of this, of course, but when the people in his book start being killed in these horrible ways that he has described in his journal, when this starts happening in real life and nobody can figure it out, he knows that he's on the line, because if anybody finds that book and realizes he drew and wrote these exact things, then he is going to be suspect number one. He's also got a bunch of unlikely allies by his side, a tough, heavy metal chick who don't take shit from anybody, you know. And one of the guys that was actually there that night, he has turned his life around since that day. He feels really bad for doing it. And he aligns himself with our character and this female friend of his. And when these other people start dying, it's a race in time, because now this guy who changed his mind about the whole situation, he was also in this book because he was part of the group at the beginning. And even though our protagonist has forgiven him and they're friends now and they really like each other, this book is happening as he wrote it, in order, and they know that he is going to be next in line to be horrifically killed. In the meantime, our protagonist has not known his father all of his life, but we're going to get there too. We're going to find out some things about his father. We're going to find out some pretty frightening things about him and his background, the protagonist, and his background, the things that he would have never guessed or thought of, and how his father came to leave and what the circumstances were, and all of these things are going to come together, and it's going to make for a very bloody, very exciting, and action-packed finale there at the end. I really, really love this book. I can't say enough good things about it. It just has all those weird cosmic horror vibes. It tells a really good story, kind of a coming-of-age story. It's also one of those books that would be good for adults or even teenagers. I think they would like it because the protagonists in here are of that age. And he writes these characters really well. Like, you got the tough, heavy metal chick, and then you got him who's just kind of, he's not really a nerd, but he's not really unpopular. He's just kind of in between. And then his friend is a jock. His other friend is a jock who, like I said, was there at the beginning, but now, you know, they're friends and they're really concerned about the welfare of this guy, because he's next in line to be slaughtered by this, what he thought at first was just a mythological creature. And it's got all those elements in there, and I think it's one you're really going to enjoy as much as I did. And again, there is a link down below where you can pick up your copy, and I highly recommend that you do. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.